What's going on, grinders? My name is Adam Kohn, and I am a blogger here at Rotogrinders. And I am here to give you guys the Counter-Strike Global Offensive DFS 101 Bootcamp tutorial. This video is going to go into basically everything from what you need to know about the game of Counter-Strike at a very basic level so you can understand a little bit about the research and how the Draftkings scoring is. So, I'm going to get you all started by giving you just a little bit of an overview of Counter-Strike. Then I'm going to go into the maps. I'm going to go into some of the main weapons. Then I'm going to show you where I go to do my Counter-Strike research. I'm going to show you guys a little bit around the site. And then I'm going to take you guys into Draftking Scoring. And then I'm going to take you guys into how a lineup would actually be constructed, what the format is, things to keep in mind. With that being said, the overall premise of Counter-Strike Global Offensive for pro teams, there are many different versions if you actually download the game, and I highly recommend it. It's a ton of fun. But for the main competitive stuff that you're going to see, especially for DraftKings, you're going to see the more standard way of Counter-Strike. You're going to see terrorists versus counter-terrorists, and it's very simple. The terrorists have to go plant a bomb at either bomb site A or bomb site B. It's the counter-terrorist job to stop them from planting the bomb. If they're unsuccessful at doing it before the bomb goes down, they have to then defuse the bomb once it goes down. It's a very rudimentary sentiment of it. I highly recommend you guys go actually check out the entire game of Counter-Strike. But again, this is more specific for DFS purposes, so I want to give you all the knowledge of at least pretty much like what you're playing over on DraftKings. So there are 7 maps that the pros have to pick from in what's called the active duty map pool. The maps are as follows: Inferno, Train, Mirage, Nuke, Overpass, Dust 2, and Vertigo. So a lot of these maps are in different settings, and they're actually really cool, and they're very intricately designed. So we have Train over there. It's just a train yard. You know, a bunch of trains everywhere. The bomb sites are different trains, and you get different angles and whatnot. And then you have a site like Nuke, kind of speaks for itself. It's a nuclear power plant. And then you get a map like Vertigo, which is basically a skyscraper that's still under construction. So with that being said, there are other maps in the game. For example, there's Cache, there's Cobblestone, there's, canals. There's a bunch of different maps within the game. These are all hostage rescue maps that are not typically played, but play them. They're a ton of fun. But for the pros, what you see on a day in and day out basis, it's these 7 maps. So once they get the maps, you have to have weapons to go along with it. And in Counter-Strike, there is an economy-based system. So that economy-based system is basically you get so much money per round. And again, highly recommend you go understand a little bit more about the Counter-Strike economy of it. But you'll hear things from either the CSGO analysts that are announcing the game, so to speak, and you'll hear someone from the DFS side of the analyst. You'll talk about pistol rounds, eco rounds, rifle rounds, full buy rounds, save rounds. You'll hear a bunch of this different terminology. Definitely good to go do some more research. But let me show you all a little bit about some of the weapons. So, remember how I mentioned there's terrorists and there's counter-terrorists. So the counter-terrorists, their main and strongest rifle weapon is the M4A4. There are a bunch of other weapons the counters get to have. You have the silenced version of the same M4A1. It's just basically a silencer. This gun with a silencer on it. They got the FAMAS. There are a bunch of other guns. There's the AUG, which is like their rifle, sniper rifle. I'll get into sniper rifles in a minute. Both teams have the Scout or the SSG-08. And they've also got, these are auto snipers, which aren't really used at the pro level, but they're a ton of fun to use. So the terrorist side, their main weapon is the AK-47. And this weapon is really cool. It's basically a way for the terrorists to get quicker kills than maybe the counter-terrorists or with the M4A4. But again, that's a little bit more detailed than I want to get in here to today. So, but the AK-47, great weapon. It's their most powerful weapon. You've also got the Galil. You've got the SG-553. And those are pretty much the main weapons for the terrorists. Now, again, you get pistols. I'm not going to get into that here, but you get pistols, and you get a bunch of shotguns, and, some SMGs. You have a bunch of other different weapons there. But these are just more the primary weapons. So now I'm down here at a weapon called the AWP. So there are a couple sniper rifles in the game. We talked about the Scout. We talked about the AUG, the SG-53, so the terrorist, version of the AUG. The AWP is arguably, if not the most powerful weapon in Counter-Strike. It's almost about 9 out of 10 times it's an insta-kill if you hit your opponent. So, this weapon, it's expensive. It's $47.50. Again, it's a long-range sniper rifle, but one of the more powerful, if not the most powerful rifle in the entire game of Counter-Strike. So, this kind of leads me into, why am I telling you all about weapons? You guys don't care about weapons, you're here for the DFS. Where you're going to hear things called riflers and oppers. So, on pro-level teams, there are a bunch of riflers, and then there's usually one dedicated opper. The opper is basically the person who is going to, as many times as they can, if they have the economy, to have an op in their hands. They are the dedicated sniper, they're the opper. They're out there trying to give their team the best advantage possible. The riflers, if you're a main rifle, you're an entry fragger, maybe you go for that M4A4, maybe you're going to go for that AK-47. Sometimes the AUG comes out, the scout's there for, it's like the mini version of the op in a sense for those operas. Sometimes they'll like to buy the scout since you can't just buy the op right away. So they'll use a scout. Again, so you have those snipers and you have the riflers. Or as in Counter-Strike, they're called as the oppers because they are wielding the op most of the time if they have the money to do so. Why am I telling you this? And again, none of you all care. The reason for this is because when you're getting ready to build your lineups and you're thinking how you want to do lineup construction, you're going to want to have some of the best players in the world. For example, ZywOo and Simple, the two best players in the world, they just happen to be oppers, right? So BlameF is a fantastic rifler. So the more you get familiar with some of these names that you're going to be picking, it's good to have an understanding of what weapons they typically use. Are they more of that rifler or are they more of that opper? Because sometimes oppers may not do well as riflers, but maybe an opper has a higher kill rate than a rifle fragger would because they get to be further away, and if they just get on a tear, they're on a tear. So there's different elements of strategy that goes into it. I am not here to give you all the strategy elements in this video. If you want, you can check us out over at the Rotogrinders CSGO Discord channel. I am WXFan21 over there. And you can follow me on Twitter at AdamWX21 if you have any questions. And feel free to hop in, again, that RG CSGO Discord chat. It's a fantastic resource. The people there are awesome. And if you have questions on strategy, that's the place to ask it, because really when it comes to Counter-Strike, there's no one real strategy for Counter-Strike DFS. Some people have a certain strategy that works for them, others have another strategy. We're here to help. So feel free to use that resource. You're buying the specials package anyway, take advantage of that resource, especially if you want to learn more. Alright, so now I've given you a little bit about what Counter-Strike is. I've shown you a little bit of the maps. I'll show you why the maps are important in a little bit. I've gone into rifling versus opping and some of the different weapons. So now I'm going to tell you all where to go, at least for me. I'm going to tell you where I go to do my research. And it's a website called HLTV. So all you have to do is go to hltv.org, and this website is going to pop up. You get your news page, which pretty much defaults here. You get your rankings over here. So, for example, I'm recording this on September 29th, 2020. Evil Geniuses are the #1 world-ranked team, which is fantastic. They've been hanging around at number 3 for weeks now. Heroic standing strong at number 2. Team Vitality is 3rd. Furia comes in at 4. And Big comes in at 5. You're interested in rankings and to get familiar with some of the players, check out the rankings. They got players of the week up here. This happens to be JKS. He did 76.9 damage per round. I'll get into that because now we're going to get into some of the scoring for Draftkings, and I'm going to show you where to find it here. So HLTV is a great resource, and I say that because, for example, today, September 29th, again, 2020, we had Navi versus Mousesports. So Nadas Vincier, basically it is called Navi, and you have Mousesports over here. Well, this is the match recap page. So what you can do here is you can see some highlights down here, some awesome, clutches and kills and all this other stuff. Now I know you're all thinking, what does this all mean? I'm going to come back to this page in a second. But this is a match recap page. You get to see maps, highlights, all of that. But let's get into the Draftking scoring real quick so I can show you all on HLTV where to find some of the stuff that you all are really going to care about. So Draftkings Counter-Strike scoring is pretty much this. Your main stats are kills, assists, deaths. Kills, assists, deaths, entry kills, clutches, quad kills, aces, rounds not played, and a match sweep bonus. Whew! Sounds like a lot of information. Let me break it down for you. Kills, obviously, terrorist, counter-terrorist. You want to go in and kill the opposing team. You want to win those rounds. So kills are worth 1.5 points. An assist is worth 1 point. A death, you lose a point. An entry kill, so if that player is the first one on the scene, they get the first frag of the round. They get an extra half point. Easy peasy, right? Now we get into some of the bonus categories. So that entry kill is a bonus category. So those are bonus points you get on other than kills, assists, and deaths, which are the three main ways that your players will accumulate DraftKings points. Clutches, 1v2, 1v3, 1v4, and a 1v5. These clutches are pretty much, let's just say, simple, right? Best opera in the world, arguably. Sorry, we've got something to say about that. But again, let's just take simple, for example, on Navi, right? So I'll go back here. You know, you see here, if you're doing just the recap of today's match versus Mouse Sports, he had a 1v2 clutch. What does that mean? It means he was the last player on his team remaining, and he had to win the map. Sorry, not the map. He had to win the round for his team. So you can see here in this video, I'll just give it a second to play. When I am not the best at it. So Rops is hanging around here. Here's the terrorist eliminates perfecto. So simple now, last member of his team. He has to eliminate Rops and BMAS. So he takes care of Rops, one down. Now it's a 1v1 situation, takes care of BMAS. He goes ahead and gets the 1v2 clutch. He eliminated the other two members on the team, and he was the last member remaining on his team. So he gets the bonus points for a 1v2 clutch. So Simple would have gotten an additional point, plus the 3 points for those 2 kills that he just got. And now the other thing is, so he's eliminated the team, but the bomb went down. Simple has to defuse the bomb. Bomb defused, Navi wins the round. Very, very cool stuff. So those are clutches. Last member remaining on your team, you have to go out and win the round for your team. So it's very simple. There's no 1v1. That's just a traditional kill. There's 1v2, 1v3, 1v4, and 1v5. So as you can see by the point scale here, they go up in points the better the clutch is. So you could have Simple versus 4 members of Mouse Sports, and if he eliminates all 4 of them and wins the round, he not only gets the 4 kills in that round, he gets the 1v4 clutch, and he gets the quad kill. So you only get special points for a quad kill or what's called an ace. An ace is where you eliminate the entire other team. No one else on that team gets any kills that round. They can get assists, but they get no kills. That one player eliminated all 5 members of that team in that round. So they get kills 1.5 times 5 plus the ace. It's very, very cool. So you can kind of see how a lot of these bonuses can really help out some of your players. So when you're doing that research on hltv.org, you can have an idea of who's maybe better at a clutch situation than maybe someone else. I typically never build lineups around bonuses. I want to know who the best players are. I want to know who can do good on that day. Typically, that's the overarching way you want to look at it. But again, that's just a little bit of strategy that I've employed either currently or in the past, because I'm still adapting my strategy to get better. So again, ask us some of those questions, but I want to illustrate why these bonus points, the clutches, the quad kills, the aces, the entry kills, how they can definitely help your 6-person lineups get more DraftKings points. Remember how I mentioned those maps earlier? So in a typical Counter-Strike game, they're typically best of 3 maps. You have to win 2 of the maps to be able to win the game. So there's rounds. There's 30 rounds per map. Therefore, you get rounds not played bonuses. So let's say we just take and go back here to Navi versus Mousesports today. Here are the maps they played. They played Nuke, Dust 2, and Inferno. So here, Mousesports annihilated Navi 16-5 on Nuke. Didn't even give them a chance. So you, out of the 16-5, so that is 21 points. Out of the 21 rounds, no, not points, 21 rounds, my apologies. Out of the 21 rounds, you had 9 rounds that were not played. First team that wins 16 rounds in a map wins the map. So that's why you see these pretty little 16 numbers here. So here on Dust 2, Navi came back 16-14. That went the distance. That went all 30 rounds. There were no rounds not played bonuses for this map. Inferno was 16-13. You get 1 round not played bonus. The round not played bonus is there. So let's just say Mousesports won 16-5 and this was flipped 16-14. Inferno's 30 rounds that were never played get counted towards everyone's score, but Mousesports would have picked up the match sweep bonus. So they get an additional 5 points for sweeping the other team, but both teams get the rounds not played bonus. I hope you all follow along. Again, if you have questions, feel free to ask in the CSGO Discord RG chat. Whew! Alright, so now I've given you a little bit about that. Remember I told you about those maps earlier? In Counter-Strike, in a typical best of 3, again, you have to win 2 of the 3 maps. Sometimes the format could be a best of 1. Strategy for Draftkings would differ drastically if it was a best of 1. Grand finals typically are a best of 5. So each team, and I'll just stick with a bit of the traditional best of 3 example. Each team gets 2 bans, 1 pick, and then there's a decider map. What does that mean? So if you look here at these numbers 1-7, Mousesports banned Overpass. They didn't want to play that. Fine. Navi then banned Vertigo. No problem. Mousesports get the first pick. They picked Nuke. They want to play on Nuke. Navi came back and picked Dust 2. The second round of bans came in. Mousesports removed Train. Navi removed Mirage. Inferno is the decider map should it needs to go to a 3rd map. Cool. So what that means is basically there are a bunch of different maps that these teams like to play. So for example, a team like Ents, who played today versus Complexity, you can see it over here at the bottom. Ents really likes Train. So they typically pick Train. Certain teams just have affinities for certain maps. Sometimes they'll employ strategies. Maybe they'll pick a map that maybe they're not the greatest in, but their opponent is just terrible at. It's all a matter of strategy. So, now that you all have an understanding of that, I told you all about kills, assists, and deaths. Time for me to actually show you where to find that research. So this is again a match recap. You can see all of these pretty numbers down here. Before I get into these, I want to just introduce you to some of the teams. So this is Navi's lineup. Flamey, Simple, Electronic, Boomage, and Perfecto. Mousesports have Chris J, Rops, Kerrigan, Frozen, and BMass. So what you can do is you can either go here, or you can scroll back up here to the top of the screen. Let's just take Navi, for example. I'm going to open this up here in a new tab. And you get to see their entire roster. You get to see different trophies they won, matches, news, and all that. I'm going to go over here to stats. You get to see the map win statistics of the past 3 months at a very quick glance here. They've not lost at Inferno. They have not. They've played this map twice. They've won it twice. Mirage, they've played once. They've won it once. Dust 2, they've played 6 times. Won 4, lost twice. You can see their biggest wins versus their biggest loss. So let's go to all stats. This is where you really get to have some fun doing your research for Counter-Strike DFS. There's a filter up here. So here, you see the current lineup of the team. You see some historic players. And you see players that were called stand-ins. For one reason or another, they just need to come in and cover. Not a big deal. So, go back up here. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, all Counter-Strike matches for the pros levels, I think really since like the end of March, beginning of April, have been all online play. So there's online and there's LAN. So if you've ever seen like an esports event, maybe if you're more familiar with League of Legends than you are Counter-Strike, sometimes they'll gather in these giant, stadiums or indoors somewhere. They have a giant crowd. That's LAN play. Online play, everyone's from home, or maybe the team's all together, what they call a boot camp, or they all live together. And they all have their base of operations. Na'Vi has one. I've seen Fnatic have one. So it's those kind of things that you have to take into consideration. Where were these teams playing? If this was Na'Vi versus Mousesports on LAN, I'd go up here to match filter. I'd be more concerned with their LAN stats, and I'd go over the last 3 months. But again, coronavirus pandemic, no maps played on LAN over the last 3 months. They've all been online. So I typically just go, rather than all matches, I just go online. Because I want to know how these guys have done specifically online over the last 3 months. This is where I go for my research. If I need to expand it, I can go 6 months, I can go 12 months. If I really want to know how these players have looked in the last month, are there anything you're seeing in the games that now you need to do a deeper dive into the stats? Great, I can go over the last month, but typically I go over the last 3. I do want to let you all know as well that over the last 3 months, the players got what they call a player break from the beginning of July to the beginning of August. They get 1 month off. So this last 3 months, 26 maps played. Why so little? Well, it's because Na'Vi they weren't there in July. If they went July stats, you'd have more stats like that. Or they'd have more maps played, rather. So, you can go see who they've played. Mousesports, G2, Heroic, OG, Ego, Big, Ents, Godsent, Nip, Complexity, and all of it. And then you can see, from a team point of view, this is a team filter. You can see how they did. Na'Vi's been on a tear lately. They've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. They're on a 6-game win streak. They're doing fantastic. You can see over those last 3 months, or any of them for that matter. Again, we saw a quick snapshot of it, but you can see they've played Nuke a lot. They've played Dust 2 a lot. They've played Train a lot. Great. And you can see the statistics per map. So again, if you're, let's just say it's Na'Vi versus Ents. Again, I said Ents, to me, seem to really like Train lately. Well, Na'Vi's 4-2 on that map. So you can be able to take that versus how Ents is on that map. How are the players doing on that map? And you can go as far down the rabbit hole as you want to get the specific stats that you want to build your Draftkings lineups. I go over here to players. This is cool. The players page, you get the very top level overview of the last 3 months. How have these players been doing? With, again, no surprise to anybody, Simple is one of the 2 best players in the world. He is a plus 195 kill to death differential. K to D diff. Right here. So this is kill to death differential. So this column, kill to death differential, and then next to it is your kill to death ratio. So he's got a 1.46 kill to death ratio, which is outstanding. So you can now go to the player, their specific page, one of 2 ways. You can go on here, go to player and click it. But typically what I like to do is I either go right click, open new tab, or I just go open link a new tab. And I like to have all my tabs out so I can go between team stats, I can go between individual performance, past performances, all that. So this is their player page. So this is simple. The stats kind of speak for themselves if I look at the pretty green. Kills, assists, deaths, entry fragging, all of it. You can find a lot of that fun information here. So, for example, I think you can find anti-fragging here. Again, you can find so much stuff here. So, you can see that kill to death differential here is a 1.46, which is out. Where is it? Ah, I lost it. It's outstanding. 1.46 is absolutely just phenomenal. Damage per round. He does, with an op, 90 damage per round. That is just insanely good. It's right here at the end of the bar. It's outstanding. So, if he's played 26 maps, he's gotten 0.91 kills per round, or KPR. His total kills over the last 3 months are 618. He's only died 423 times. He's got a headshot percentage of 42.1%. And this is all awesome stuff. So this is where you go for the team stats. You can take a look here at his weapons. He's an opper. Secondary weapon is the AK-47. No surprise. It's all pretty cool stuff to give individual. See individual stuff here. There's your first kill in the 1 round, 19.8%. There's opening kill ratio, total opening kills. Ton of fun stuff here, guys. Like, really take a look into this. You can see how awesome he is every single map. Sometimes he'll have those games where he just doesn't pay off his price tag. Okay, I'll get into the price tag in a little bit. So that's pretty much it, guys. Take a look at all these different ways you can filter. Player, you can do the same thing. You can filter him. How does he do at big events? You know, all time, how does he perform? He crushes. He's, again, one of the best players in the world. So this is the website you guys want to take a look at. I highly, highly, highly encourage everyone to play around on the website, play around with the different stats, get familiar with some of these players. It's a great time. Okay. So now you've heard me talk about everything. Let's actually get into Draftkings contest. We'll go over here to Counter-Strike. We're going to go over here. So tomorrow, Draftkings has a 2-game ESL slate. And they got a 1-game showdown slate. Mouse versus Ents. Their main slate is Heroic versus Astralis. And Mouse Sports versus Ents. This game is going to be incredible. Astralis, one of the best teams in the world. Even though currently their ranking doesn't reflect it. But they are one of the best teams in the world. So I'm just going to go here to the clutch. I'm going to show you guys how lineup construction works. Again, DraftKings, all about salary format. You get a $50,000 salary pool to fill 6 slots with. In those 6 slots, you have to have 1 captain and 5 flex. Now you're going to go, Adam, are you in Counter-Strike? Are you in NFL Showdown? Are you in NBA Showdown? Where are you? So Counter-Strike is your bigger, quote-unquote, bigger sport format. You get 1 captain, 5 flex. That is the main slate Counter-Strike format. This is not a showdown format. Let me say that again. This is the main Counter-Strike format. This is not the Counter-Strike showdown format. They're 2 different formats. So I'll just show you guys show you all what one of these guys are. So just go here. I'll go to this clutch contest. You can see how drastically different the Counter-Strike showdown format is from a typical traditional main slate or normal format. You had 2 captains, 2 flex, as opposed if I'm going to go here to the main slate. You're going to get 1 captain, 5 flex. $50,000 salary. Your captain spot, as normal, works as a normal captain spot. You can get all your details and how everything works up here. I'm going to take a look at normal pricing. So, for this slate, remember how I told you Astralis was one of the best teams in the world? S-Tag, 9,200. Device, 8,800. Magix, he's 8,000. Glaive, 7,800. Dupree, 7,600. this does not surprise me. They are, like I said, one of the best teams in the world, even though currently they're not ranked like it. So, Rops finally gets a price increase that's well respectable to who he is. He's been down for a while if you've been playing Counter-Strike and you're just checking this video out. So, Rops is 8,400. Alu, who's the best player on ENCE, is 7,400. He's their primary opper. Rops is not an opper, he's a rifle fragger. So he's a rifler, Alu the opper. Frozen, 7,200. It's still not high enough for what he has been playing like lately. And this is what I want everyone to understand. When you start getting into doing the research, watching the games, I highly encourage everyone to watch the games. One, it's fun. Two, the announcers make it so much more fun than the game actually is. Everything works. But when you listen to the announcers, and you actually get a chance to watch some of these players, like I've been watching Counter-Strike now since the pandemic started off and on. I've gotten, more familiar with some of the teams. I know, just from what I have seen from the eye test, Frozen is underpriced at 7,200. He's been playing like an $8,000 player. So I'm going to probably want to get Frozen in my lineups. Stam. All of Heroic are getting what I call the Astralis discount. Again, Astralis being one of the best teams in the world. Heroic are the number 2 ranked team in the world. Why is the best player on Heroic $7,000? It's Astralis. They're getting a bump down in salary due to matchup. So, that might be something I want to exploit in an MME format if I'm playing more than one lineup. On the off chance Astralis has a bad day and they lose the game, Heroic are so underpriced, and the ownership on them is probably going to be way less than they are on Astralis. Heroic make for a great GPP pivot. Again, you see some of the strategy when you start building some of these lineups here. But I want you to understand, all these different players have different price tags. Sometimes you can pick out a player, for example, like Sergey or Sunny, or even Tessus at $6,400, about $1,000 too cheap, even though it's Astralis. The more you guys get a chance to do your research on hltv.org or whatever website you all want to use, you want to take a look at some of the betting websites, be able to see, oh, Astralis is a such and such favorite. Maybe you want to hedge on Draftkings, you want to play some Heroic. Great, no problem with that. However you all do your research, from watching the games to go into these websites, you're going to be able to understand maybe some players that are underpriced. Like I said, Frozen's about $1,000 too cheap. Tessus is about $1,000 too cheap. BMAS, for how he's been playing with Mouse Sports recently, he's about $500 to $1,000 too cheap. Makes for some good leverage spots. And hopefully, if you're playing those GPPs, hopefully some lower ownerships that'll help get you guys to win that $5,000 or whatever tournament or cash game for that matter that you all are playing. So I hope everyone has found this video to be helpful. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at AdamWX21. I'm also in the RG Discord chat for Counter-Strike, CSGO. I am there at WXFan21. Great community. Highly encourage everyone to go there. I hope everyone has enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, or wherever the comment sections are that hopefully this gets posted to. I encourage all of you, again, watch some of the games, and welcome to the world of Counter-Strike Global Offensive DFS.